All right, let's do another 30 days of Galactics with my friend Toa. Now, Toa is a being who taught me a lot about time and time travel and how to work with time. If you take the time workshop on my YouTube, you'll hear about him some more too. And Toa is a being, I don't have a species name for them. They exist on a planet far, far away from here, towards the center of the Milky Way, is what I'm told. And in order to get to him, it was a matter of working with my Arcturian guide at the time, who in my books I refer to as the master. And not master as in like higher or above, but master as in they have mastered their spirituality, the tools that they are training us on. And so my Arcturian guide came and was teaching me how to move through portals, how to move through wormholes, to go to other planets, go to other places. And while that was happening, he comes to me one day and he says, "Hey, we're going to go farther than we've ever gone before now. Before we had only stayed in, I would call it our local star system, not the solar system, but our local star system, meaning our local, my guides are using cloud of stars and planets and things that are, not terribly far away. They're far in our sense of perception, but not far in a galactic sense of perception. So this was farther away in the center of the Milky Way, long distance, and we had to portal through multiple wormholes to get me there because vibrationally, I wasn't ready to just jump that far from a physical distance standpoint. So we portaled to one of the Arcturian worlds. I call it the home world, that it just feels very much like home to me. And it's a world that has rings around it, much like Saturn has rings around it, a purple world. And then we go to another place and we go to this essentially big light source. I look down and there's a light source, white light and conscious light. And this conscious light source is kind of probing me, like, what are you doing here, type of thing. But it's a star, but it's not emitting a lot of sunlight like our star does. It might have been a dying star, but I don't think it was a dying star. I think it was something else, something that we don't necessarily have a word for. At least I don't have a word for in my vocabulary from astronomy. And then my Arcturian guide points to a planet, like a position in the distance, and goes, "We're going to go to that planet." So we jump from that star to the planet, and the planet outside is dark. It's completely dark. There's no light. The star isn't producing light. I can see the conscious light because I can see the energy of it, but physically it's not producing light. Like, it's almost like the planet isn't even there, but you can see it because it's, creating a circular image in the sky and blocking out stars behind it. And you can kind of see clouds, and you can see these little pinpoints of golden light, kind of, 4 or 5 really big ones all over the planet and a couple other places, but not. So imagine the images of Earth from space at night when they show Earth and it's lit up and there's just lights everywhere from the city lights. Kind of like that, but fewer, more condensed, and fewer than what Earth has. But there were lights down there, golden lights. They weren't white or other colors. They were very golden, and they helped display the cloud cover of this planet. So I dropped down into where Toa is, and my guide is like, "Hey, you need to go down to this space." If you see me looking off to the side, there's a lizard running around here, and there's a bunch of them all over the place. But I go down, I drop into this swampy area, and I probably shouldn't even call it a swamp, because it's a different type of terrain, I guess. Swampy is what we would probably call it. It's a very wet, very damp area, very humid space. It's dark. It's very, very dark. However, despite how dark it is, the lights from the cities provide enough light that you can actually see everything. You can see everything around, and the golden light of the city is far, far away in the distance. And standing in front of me, or sitting in front of me, I should say, cross-legged sitting in front of me, is this being here, Toa. Probably 8 to 9 feet tall, bluish skin, dark purple splotches all over him. Really big eyes, webbed hands, webbed feet, and yeah, I didn't have any other notes about his physical appearance. A big head, long head, very tall, very skinny. I believe he was only wearing a, like, we would call it a loincloth. I don't think it was a loincloth. It was more ornate, I guess. And just out there sitting on this very damp ground. Now, the ground is damp in that there's like puddles of water everywhere. Little puddles. You could put your hand in the ground and there's just water sitting there, but there's grass growing everywhere. It's not deep at all. It's just centimeters of water. And there's all kinds of life. I remember seeing something like a frog that wasn't a frog, and some insects and different things. And what was interesting about Toa's world is energetically it could feel me, and I would put my hand down to the ground and the grasses would actually move. The grasses were capable of moving. They had a system, a capillary system is the word I'm hearing, a capillary system that allowed them to respond to movement. So if you put your hand down, you'd actually see the grasses kind of like go out to the side. So everything was conscious. Everything was very lifelike. And Toa started teaching me about time in those moments. I went back to him many, many times. He talked to me about the city and how some of them decide to go to the city. Most of them live in nature, and some of them go to the city to learn about technology and different aspects of what we would call a more technological type of society. Some choose to stay there, but most of the time they're more of a nature-based species who has this planet, and it's warmth is kept in by the cloud cover. There's all this cloud cover around it, and somehow the planet keeps itself warm because of the cloud cover. And then with time, he was talking about the flow, the stream of time. He called it a time stream, a stream of time. And so when I teach time, I teach about this stream of time that in my eye, when he was explaining it, it was, imagine like purple black background with white specks, and then this just white stream of energy going from left to right, and he called that the time stream. And then branches of time kind of weaving off and looping up and going around and being like, the time moves forward and everybody has their own little flow or river or conduit, whatever you want to call it, of time. I don't know why they say conduit, but they pop that in my head. And then it branches up and can spiral in, but it always comes back down to the main time stream, always comes back down to the main events, to the main things. And we have choices in that, but we're also kind of going in and out of this main flow of time based on our choices and hitting these events and all kinds of stuff. So he spoke to me a lot about how to understand that for people who are, one, time travelers. I was learning I was a time traveler, and two, how to understand you have choice and you have free will, but you always loop back to the main flow of time. And it's kind of like there's one big river and you kind of branch off for a little bit based on your choices, and then you come back down to the river, and depending on your choices depends on when, where, that sort of thing, but you always come back into the flow. And the ability to guide and shape, like you're the creator, you're the carver. So you're the river itself. You're the river carving its path through the rock, and you have the choice to just stay with the mainstream, stay with the majority of people, or to kind of carve your own path and weave off and go do your own thing. So you can learn more about time in the time workshop, how I experienced it, things that have happened to me. But that was Toa, and he lives on what we call a dark, cold world, are the words that usually come to mind, that is warmed by the clouds and like the interior of the planet. So there's life exists, and they are different. They are also a different, they're not carbon based. I was always told they weren't carbon based, and I don't think they ever actually told me what they were, but they are some sort of other life form. Some people, I hear sulfur every once in a while, sulfur based. They had very slimy skin, slimy, like oily skin type of thing. They had like a covering on their skin that, I mean, I can't even describe how humid this world is. I feel like it rained one time I was there, but for the most part, it is just so humid that there's water everywhere. It is like a dense jungle type atmosphere. We were in a field area, but there's dense jungle, and there's just water sitting, and it's not deep. It's not like a typical swamp where you would step in and you'd be up to your waist wading through it. It's centimeters, but it's just everywhere, and there's life everywhere, all kinds of stuff. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching. Grateful for each and every one of you. Love you all.